Okay, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock live stream, April 28th. This is the program where we bring you those stocks which have that 10x to even 100x upside potential. Companies going after massive multi-billion-dollar market opportunities at a key inflection point right now, and with multiple catalysts in place to ignite that massive increase in shareholder value. Using this methodology, we've already had 9 stocks that have increased between 10x and 50x in the past 20 months. And NuRAN is perfectly positioned. I mean, I just read this description, and wow, this fits. I mean, NuRAN fits this description to a T. Massive market, multi-billion-dollar market. Catalyst, the inflection point is there. Everything is starting to happen now, and I think that is what we're going to get into today. So. Again, guys, I'm going to ask Francis a couple of questions, and then please ask your questions. We'll open up for audience Q&A, and again, it's your questions that make these events special. And then decide for yourself if NuRAN is going to be that next 10x plus. With that said, Francis, welcome back.
Thank you very much, Jack. I think we just confirmed that today. At least we have a. Let's say your plate to go to the buffet, and then bring all of those sites that will allow you to reach the objective that you've set ourselves to deliver those 10,000 sites in 5 years.
Yeah. So Francis, last time we spoke, you were you were live. You were in Barcelona. It was you were at the Mobile World Congress. It was a major industry event. Everybody goes from worldwide. And I know some people saw pictures on social media. You were meeting with the different African telecom companies, and apparently good things are starting to happen as a result. Or maybe things were planned before, but certainly we're starting to see that trip bearing fruit. We're going to get into that today, especially today's major news. We're going to save that towards the end, so we'll save the best for last. But Francis, just for anybody that's brand new, just give us a quick snapshot, like NuRAN's role in the booming wireless business in Africa.
Yeah, so NuRAN is the extension. You need to see NuRAN. NuRAN is the extension of a major mobile network operator. For the North American inhabitants, you will be talking about Verizon or AT&T, or in Canada, Bell or TELUS. So you need to see us as the extension, the coverage extension in rural area of those large operators. So the way we deal with them, we build the infrastructure and we charge them by the minute of usage of our own network that is connected to theirs. So we are an wholesale network, mobile network operator in a nutshell.
And essentially, network as a service. This is the model, and essentially the idea, I guess, is that these mobile companies, they have enough on their hands. They don't want to get into all the details of they subcontract things out, or they have multiple contractors, and this is massive opportunity. So essentially, you're putting up these towers, right? These 4G, 3G towers. Which allow them to go into remote villages, suburbs, etc., where they currently do not have wireless
anything, nothing.
Right.
No grid, no fiber optics. Exactly.
Right. I mean, no. So this is, again, it's a really a life-changing thing that you're doing for millions of people potentially. I think the size of the opportunity in Africa is how many people are without wireless right now, without communications, let's just say.
So if you look at the surveys that have been done by GSMA, which is the organization that drives the mobile network operating business, there is over 600 million people living in Africa, and half of them live in rural area. So how many of this rural display is covered? We don't know yet, but we think that probably 80 to 90% is not covered. So it leaves the space to connect maybe 250 million people in Africa only. So, and just what we've announced this morning, we'll get back to that. So we're tapping into a potential of 50 plus million people to connect through this RFP that we just been selected for.
Really, we're talking about a multi-billion-dollar opportunity for NuRAN in terms of revenues. That's what this is.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the total number of sites that need to be done under this RFP is close to
Oh, wait,
20,000.
first, no, hold on. Don't give away all the goods. We're going to save that for last. We're going to save that.
Okay, okay. Good.
Let's
I
start
follow
off.
you.
Yeah, let's start off. Yeah, we want to keep people on the program here. So let's start off with the Namibia news. So a few weeks,
Yes.
2 weeks ago, you signed a $60 million contract with it was MTN Namibia for this network as a service, and I think this is going to be for 4G sites, right? 4G.
Exact, which is our
Okay.
first 4G network as a service contract, which is fantastic for us.
Okay. And so 60 million. Let's give us kind of the detailed snapshot of the highlights of that deal.
So the intent is to deploy in urban, suburban, and rural area around 150 sites. The cool thing about Namibia itself is that we stand on a larger ARPU than typical African countries. ARPU is average revenue per user. So Namibia is between, I would say, $4.50 and $7.30. So just based on the $4.30 and a typical penetration rate for our financial, so 150 site with the type of population, we believe that we can probably bring back $4,500 per site per month for the duration of the contract, which is 10 years. Cool thing is that we keep the assets within NuRAN, which please our equity players that will be coming on the NuRAN African level. But it's a massive step for us. We were used to deploy 2G, then 3G, but 4G, it's a good step for us. We are extremely pleased about that. I'm pleased with the team, the technical team, the sales team. They've done a good job. Eliatsu Rose, the managing director of MTN Namibia, is super excited. He wants us to do more and more. So I'm stopping Elia as we speak because he would like us to take over the core network side, because you have to know that MTN Namibia used to be a business to business operation. Now they're switching to business to consumer. So they have a full operation license on their 4G now, and they need to deploy. So the plan is to have this 4G network starting to roll out end of the year or beginning of 2023. So we're setting up the table to this 10-year contract.
Okay. And again, Namibia is just, it's just one country on that continent. So today's deal, we're going to go into today's deal in just a bit, but and it's a pretty small country. Namibia is actually, it's a relatively small country, right?
It's in terms of the square kilometer, it's pretty large, but in terms of population, it's fairly low. It's northwest of South Africa.
Okay.
So it's a pretty desertic country, beautiful temperature, of course, one of the best economy from the the sub-Saharan African countries. But of course, even if you have low population, the fact that ARPU is higher, then you can cover smaller settlement with 4G and profitably. Which is a good sign about this.
And look, the reason why you're there is because it's very kind of spread out. It's rural, and they need these towers to go up, these 4G towers, which is what you're doing. So this deal brings you to how many sites under contract now with Namibia? Just within Namibia, is it 26?
2692.
2692.
Exactly.
Okay.
Under contract. On the South Sudan one, we have a provision for 250 additional. For Orange Cameroon, we're already talking about expanding the footprint. We now have 242 sites, but we're now talking about going or expanding the number of sites. And for DRC, we're not limited. We have committed to 2,000, but there's at least 5,000 towers to be built in DRC. So we could probably pursue our day there with doing more sites in DRC. Okay. So it will all be dependent on the economics.
So this is the Congo, right? So 5,000 sites. It's that big of a. There's that much of an opportunity just there. It's much. It's a huge. That's a huge
So
deal.
there's I think the population is close to 100 million in this country, and there's a massive amount of population living in rural areas. So the coverage need is fairly big.
Okay.
So our plan, or not our plan, but our evaluation of the country is that it would probably require 5,000 plus site to have a 98% of the population covered by
Okay.
mobile service.
So huge. I mean, there's still plenty of, you're just really getting started. So you have 2692 sites, almost 2,700 sites under contract. Yeah. The goal you've mentioned a couple of times is to get to 10,000 sites. And let's run through the economics roughly. Just give people again the economics per site per month. How much does that generate, and how much does NuRAN get?
And it's easy. It's no longer an evaluation because we have a sample that allow us to think that our financial model is well built. We're talking about $2,000 per site in revenue for NuRAN, $2,000 per site per month. So make your calculation. So X number of site times 2,000 times 12 times 10. Which is the number of years of contract that we're putting in place. So it gives you like our playground. But this is, in our opinion, still conservative because we are seeing larger penetration rate than the 24-25% penetration rate we think we're going to achieve. In Cameroon only, we are at 53.1%. penetration rate. So once the ARPU settle at the level we are expecting, probably the revenue per site will be higher than 3,000. Okay. So you see that, and DRC is probably one of the toughest country in terms of ARPU, in terms of deployment, in terms of everything. But when you go Ghana, for example, or Ivory Coast or Nigeria, ARPU are significantly higher. So there's more spending, and you have to know that we are in a world where telephony is a utility, and when it goes wrong in a country or in the world, people use the phone more. So it's not really bound to economy. So it will just grow. The penetration rate is going to grow, and the ARPU is going to grow because then you're bringing the vehicle that they need to start doing business, to use it for something else than just calling, like e-health, e-safety, mobile banking, all of this. So those are all application that will grow the demand over time, and that will allow us to grow our business as well by ricochet.
Yeah. Hang on a second. Francis, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, there's a little bit of construction happening here.
No kidding. Okay, so I thought only Quebec was suffering from.
Yeah. So anyway, so bottom line is this is each site. So essentially, this is $20 million a month gross that you're going to be doing with 10,000 sites.
Yes.
$20 million, roughly $10 million would be your margin.
Our EBITDA is in our financial model just above 50%, based on this 25% penetration rate.
Okay, so $100 million a year EBITDA is a real possibility once you get these 10,000 sites.
Our expectation for, if we use the same metrics, our expectation is $250 million per year and $125 million per in terms of EBITDA yearly, but this is based on the conservative number I gave you. So if we just use the math and we grow the number per, instead of 2,000, then it's 3,000, then you can grow the math the way you want. But we are using conservative number, especially when you raise capital from an equity, from a debt point of view to build this infrastructure. You have to be conservative in your numbering, and we keep that. We'd rather aim low, achieve high, than going completely the opposite.
Yeah, so I think the main question people have is, okay, if this company is going to be doing $100 million EBITDA a year potential, and this is a realistic probability. I think we have to look at the probabilities, right? I mean, is it a 50%? Is it 90%? That's what investors have to, or how much of it, because otherwise the stock would be trading at $20 right now, not $1. So this is the opportunity, because the market, I think right now the market doesn't quite. The market. Look, we're in a bear market, and people apparently they don't quite believe it's going to happen, which is the opportunity. All these microcap stocks, the big opportunity is when people aren't sure, when there's doubt, and once the doubt is removed, everything goes up, and that's when things go absolutely crazy. But of
As
course,
I said, my friend, telephony is considered as utility. So it's not a matter of if, it's when. So they will use the service if it's there. That's it. So done deal. We don't need to argue against that. You have a telephone. You are in North America. You will use your phone everywhere, and nobody can live without a phone today. Everything is in there. So this is going to grow, whatever happened. Then the rest is related to the average revenue per user, your penetration rate, your all of this. At the beginning, we were living on assumptions, but right now we're living on data. And we have supporting data that tells us that we're going to achieve what we think we're going to achieve. So right now, we feel extremely comfortable, I would say 95%, that we will be achieving our revenue and EBITDA goal with because we have a proper sampling that give us the ability to think that we're going to be at this level. So we really expect that those numbers are going to play right.
Okay.
We're jumping now into a different stage, delivering and then earnings call and thing like this. So you will see all the things stack up and to demonstrate exactly what our claims were.
Yeah, I think all these things are going to happen. This is probably going to happen over the next, let's call it on a rolling basis, over the next couple of months. We're going to start to see that the actual numbers, the towers increasing, all that stuff. So we're going to get into the audience questions in just a second. But let's get into, I think we should get into today's news. This is the big event.
Yeah, because it's a turning point, my friend. We now have access to a load of potential sites in multiple countries. The demand is there. This operator has shown a huge interest. You were talking about MWC not long ago. We have seen most of the CEOs of the subsidiary of that operator during the show. And their objective was to come and test the water. Are these guys capable of delivering? And we've shown our track record that we are capable of delivering. Hence the reason why we got selected here.
Okay, let's let's give people because I think get a little bit ahead. So essentially today, the big announcement, I think probably it's a little bit cryptic. I mean, there's probably a lot more behind this press release, which is which you haven't been able to talk about. But
no, exactly.
Essentially, you have an RFP. You've been selected for an RFP with a tier 1 mobile network in Africa to bring the network as a service, NuRAN services, to 15 countries. They cover 15 countries, 50 million population that they're serving. And this deal potentially could be, $1 billion+.
So we're tapping into, I'm using the word buffet, I like it. We're tapping into a 20,000 site buffet with this
20,000 sites. So this is beyond your 10,000. Is this beyond it? So would that bring you to 30,000, or is this
No. We are at 2,600, as we just mentioned. And we of course, have an aggressive objective to get at least 1/3 of those sites to be delivered. So if you do 1/3, it's then 6,500. So if you add the 6,500 sites on top of the 2,700 we have today, we are at 9,200. Sorry, I'm going a little bit too fast. So we are 800 sites away from our objective, and this only after 1 year under contract. So it will not stop there. So that's the point. So this operator has a huge objective to build site. It will also have an effect on the other mobile network operator. Everybody will want to to connect rural, and we are in the middle of it. So it's one operator serving multiple countries that wants to bring thousands of sites, and it's only Africa. We've not talked about Latin America. We've not talked about Asia Pacific as well. So now most of the effort has been done in Africa because of 2G and 3G. But with the 4G expansion, oops, we're opening door of Brazil, Mexico, Peru, Colombia. So we have opportunity in all those countries as we speak. So we will disclose a little bit more information of those opportunity that we have out there. We're early stage on those opportunity, but it's live. So we have potential of 20,000 sites only with this operator. And operator number 2, number 3, number 4 will bring their stuff. And there are countries where those large operators are not. Just give you an example. Zimbabwe, Burundi, and Mozambique have an operator called Econet. Econet is has the same ownership as Liquid Telecom, the large fiber optic company. They have 3 operations there, but the Oranges, the Vodafone, the Airtel, the MTN of Burundi, Zimbabwe, and Mozambique are not there. So there's still countries to cover that are not covered by the large ones. So 350 million, maybe a bit less to cover in Africa. I think this is the playground that we have. 30,000 to 60,000 towers to be built in Africa only, and I've not run any numbers in the rest of the world, I would say.
Yeah. So basically, this is okay. So I guess what I was asking is, so originally the goal was to have 10. Just even if with 10. I think people will be ecstatic if you just got to 10,000 sites in Africa, because that's, that is a, $100 million EBITDA. I mean, they'll be happy with that. But with this deal now, would that bring you potentially to 30,000 sites? Is this more, or does that include part of it? Like what this new deal?
No. So what our expectation is out of the 20,000 sites, because we're not the only one that has been selected to deliver those sites to Africa. So we expect to obtain 1/3 of those 20,000 sites. So this is our objective. To get there, we need to have a global agreement signed with the group, which set the terms of everything that is going to be managed. And then we go down and we run a contract per subsidiary or per country. And these guys will provide, of course, their expectation or commit. So we think that we could probably achieve more than 6,000 sites with this mobile network operator.
Okay,
so
again,
that piles up to the 2,600, heading towards the 10,000 site objective. But I think that 10,000 site, we will need to reset the objective probably in September, because for a 5-year objective, we will need to increase the number, of course.
Okay, so I guess the real question that probably investors have is, okay, when do we see, all these, the money start flowing in? When will these towers go? What are what's the probability of this deal actually going through? Because you said there's it's the main company, right, the operator, but then they have 15 subsidiaries. You have to kind of work with each one individually, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, I guess people are wondering, like, okay, what is the probability of you getting all 15, or what, that they're trying to work through the numbers, because it's a massive opportunity. They just want to know, like, okay, even if you get part of it, it's a game changer for the stock.
It is. So in order to get the global framework agreement, I think we're at the 95, 98%. So it's just that we need to paper the selection or the agreement, because all the terms, the revenue share, all the terms have been pre-negotiated. We just need to paper it. Once it's done, it's your business card or your invitation card to go and negotiate with all the subsidiaries. And we will then tap into the 19, 20,000 site. So, but what it also tells you, what I need to tell you, is that it hasn't been done up to now, and there are reasons why that I can't disclose, unfortunately. but I think that we have a great chance, without giving you a percentage, maybe 75-80% chance, that we're going to get the numbers that we think we're going to get, for many reasons. We have the technology, we have the ability to finance. Just look at the announcement we did with the DFIs in January for $24 million US to finance 1,000 sites for DRC and Cameroon. We have kicked off the wave 2 of financing. We're building equity. So we have demonstrated our capability to raise capital. This is what they like the most. And we are also demonstrating now our capability to deliver sites. Of course, we're not going at the speed that we would like, but of course, we're starting our operation. So we need to fix things. We need to get better. And but in order to see the revenue start to kick in, Jack, first of all, we're planning to have over 200 sites delivered by June. So 200 site times 2,000. So then you will be at what, $80,000
We're in May,
a month.
So in the next 30 days, you're going to have 200 sites up and running.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably many? Above that. Our objective is to have 240, but
Okay.
let's stick to 200 for now.
Yeah,
and
okay.
500 by year end.
Okay.
So at 500 by year end, we will be running $1 million worth of revenue per month. So at that time, we would be kind of EBITDA positive.
Yeah. Okay. So 500 towers is really like just scratching this. It's not even scratching the surface. I mean, that's just a little. So that would be an incredible thing. So at that point, 500 towers, you're looking at roughly $1 million a month revenues, roughly.
Exact.
12 million a year. The market sees. So people can. I think once they see these kind of these towers increasing, then they see that cadence. They're going to start extrapolating. Okay, if these guys have 200, the odds are they're going to have 500. Once they have 300, okay, I can see the possibility of 1,000, 2,000. People are going to start really believing it, and I think it's at that point where the stock can really start moving to, potentially the $20 level, if based on these numbers.
Yeah, and especially that we have those sites under contract. So now that we will have those sites under contract, having the financing, demonstrating that we have the rollout capabilities, then you can see, or you can foresee the future in terms of revenue, EBITDA, and everything. So we're just in a phase where, let's call it the de-risking phase as we speak, right? So you will see within the next couple of months all of those box tick. And once you have all of those box tick, then what's next? Yes, a stock price being higher, more site under contract, more delivery, more everything. So at the end of the day, we are in a telephony or mobility has been growing since, I would say, the last 15 years. 2G to 3G to 4G, 5G, and what's next? 6G, probably, and not in rural, but it's an evolution. And those mobile network operator are outsourcing everything that is not their core business. So they don't want to be in the infrastructure business. They're selling it. They're giving it away. So they want to have groups like us that have this capability to do it better and smarter instead of them. And then they just pile the money on mobile banking, on OTT, on service, on everything. So they become a major marketing/banking organization. Just look at I was reading, and I'm sometimes reposting on our Twitter feed some of the MTN post about articles, and you will see they're tapping into this mobile banking a lot. So it's important what we're doing, not only as a social impact, but business wise, we're connecting the rest of the world. Connecting the rest of the world will contribute to GDP, will contribute to production. Well, it's really a game changing that what we're bringing today.
Yeah. So I guess, so today's deal is a huge deal. I mean, people can obviously see this is a massive opportunity. So again, right now, the only reason I think the stock is $1 or not $10 or whatever the number is is, people, they're not sure yet, right? Which is the normal thing with any company that is in the early stage. Once they need to see a little traction. But once the traction happens, the stock is not going to be $1. So in other words, once you have the 200 sites, it's not $1
Even
stock
before,
anymore.
I think, Jack, even before,
Yeah.
the next milestone is to officially announce that everything is on track for the financing. Once this one is done, Moon is next. Yes, you're right about this. You have ticked all boxes. I see the comments from your audience. Yes, Moon is next. Why not?
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so let's kind of break this down. We got a bunch of questions. Let's get into these questions. So
Yeah.
one of the things is you're using outside financing like these development banks, other kind of fixed income. So it's not dilutive. It's not dilutive financing, but it's external type of deals to finance these towers. So people are asking, what's the status of financing for these towers?
Good point. Good point. We will be in the disclosing the evolution of the financing. So we have announced in January the contribution or the letter of intent to invest from two DFIs, Development Financial Institution, for $20 million US. The way it works is that when they announce it or when they give you this term sheet, it's committed money. So you don't earn it, you can only lose it. So then they do what they call a due diligence. And the due diligence process has been ongoing since then. They visited the country, check, they said all good. They came back with a couple of CPs. They've required to have like ESG, environmental social assessment done. It's all related to those things. It just take time. Those are a large organization. They follow really rigid processes. So and so this is one of the things. And one of the condition for the drawdown and not the approval, which is important to mention, for the drawdown of this 24 million is that we show that we have raised $6 million of equity to match the 24 million. That makes it a $30 million deal. So for that, we are in a equity raise mode. I think we've discussed that in the past, but we have created a NuRAN Africa holding structure that is based as of today, because the incorporation has been completed last week, in Mauritius. There's worse place in the world, so it would be good to have business meeting there. But our incorporation is based in Mauritius, and this Mauritius entity is going to finance operation and capex expenditure in the African operation. It's a private entity now owned 100% by the Topco, which is NuRAN Canada. And we will be bringing equity at this level, but we're valuing this entity way higher than the valuation we're getting here in Canada. Okay, because just for the 2600 site, the model of valuation that we've put together is over 200 million. So if we bring 20 million, for example, we would be fighting for a 10% valuation or a 10% stake in the company for 20 million. Of course, there will be back and forth communication. Yes, this pre-money, post-money, blah blah blah. But we're shooting for 20 million of equity that will come at this level, that will probably stand for 10, 12, maybe 15% of the company. But if you do the 20 at the parent company at the $20 million valuation, they get what? 45% of the company. So that's why we're bringing all this equity and the debt at the subsidiary level, because we have more control over the private entity. Plus, most of the players with whom we are talking to are people that will invest in the country, not in a public co. So that's another reason for that. And we're not talking to John Smith or Francis Letourneau. We're talking to large groups supporting by government money. So groups that will, I would say, like World Bank, We're talking to development organizations that have, in terms of mandate, to deploy infrastructure in emerging countries. It's their mandate. So they will come for smaller stake or smaller ticket compared to a commercial bank or compared to Mr. ABC coming at the equity level for Pubco, for example, public company.
Okay. Dwayne is asking, how many towers are you setting up to build a day? In other words, how fast, I think he's asking like basically how fast can you start scaling?
So those are all good questions. If you look at this, a team could deploy, a team of 2 or 3 person could deploy 2 towers per week. So typical tower build takes 3 days. But it's not only a matter of how many they could build. It's also like we've demonstrated from mid-December to mid-January our capability to deliver 30 sites in Cameroon, and we were not running full speed. Okay, so we could probably do in a country 50 sites per month, but it's not only this; it's the cash as well. So we have financed through a private placement we did last summer, where the lead order was Spacecom brought in $4 million. The $4 million was paying for 118 sites in DRC. So if for DRC we have 118 sites financed, so equipments are in country and everything. So and for Cameroon, we also have financed 120 sites. So that leads to the 240 I was talking about. But in terms of capacity, once we are fully up to speed, in DRC, for example, where we have 2,000 sites to build, we have 3 different suppliers that have the capability to deliver I don't know how many sites a week, but it's not only a matter of speed, it's also a matter of cash. So there's a lot of entrance to the way it's going to work. But we're planning to have 500 sites deployed in 2022, 1,000 in 2023, and that will make it for what we have financed as of today. So once we have further financing, then we'll stack it up. And you have to know that it's not the same thing deploying in all countries. So every single country will have its own teams to deploy in sites. So we're not limited there. So every time we go to another country, we select 1, 2, 3 system integrator to meet our objective. That's it. So that's the way it's going. If it has been slow so far, by the way, you will see you can rely on the monthly progress report that we've done, and also we will be publishing the financial statement early next week. And I'm disclosing a little bit why we paused on deployment in Cameroon and DRC. One was for solving positive problem. We were some of our sites were limited in terms of capacity. We needed to go to increase capacity to bring more revenue. So there's worst in life than doing this. But for DRC, we have fixed all the problem that we need to fix. Now we are resuming installation in DRC, but guess what? The convoy that is leaving takes 3 weeks to get up to the place where we're going to install the 35 sites that we have shipped, because there's no route, there's no highway. So everything needs to go through the Congo River to the north, and it takes 3 weeks to get there. So we have in our mind resume installation, but you will see those sites kicking in onto our live site stream probably sometimes mid-May.
Okay. Okay. So, but the takeaway though is that you have, in other words, the financing that you have right now in place, everything is enough to get to the 1,000 sites.
1,100 sites.
So 1,000 sites is $20 million a year, 10 million EBITDA.
Exactement.
So potentially 10 million EBITDA. I mean, what is that? That's, I think you showed comps last time. I mean, obviously the valuations have gotten compressed with the market in the last couple of months, but it still would be 10x plus. So 100 million plus.
When you use your peers comparison, the lowest in the market for something similar is 8.6 times EBITDA.
The lowest.
Remember, we discussed about this, I think,
Yeah.
the last video stream we
So
did.
you could be at, so again, 100 million plus
Boom.
next year. Actually, no more, because the market is forward looking. So by the time you have the 1,000 sites, the market is already pricing in next year. So they're at 2,000-3,000. So really, I think we could see the stock start lifting probably in the next few months as this. I think June, once they see these 200 sites, people are going to see, okay, this thing is for real. Because I think 50 sites, 200 is already okay. These guys, they're like legitimate. At that point,
Yeah.
At that point, you're kind of a player in this business. Okay, so question here. Oh, is there did you talk about an LSE listing before?
LSE stands for what? Are you talking about AIM? London Stock Exchange?
Yeah, London Stock Exchange.
So we are contemplating three different avenues. Upgrading to potentially TSX, NASDAQ, and AIM. And also contemplating potential dual listing. It will not happen today because at 28 million market cap, just the D&O insurance to be on those stock exchange cost over $3 million. So if you want to pay $3 million for something that is not useful for the company, no. So we'll wait to be at the level where I think we need to be. But ideally, we will move up to OTCQB soon. As we already said, we're DTC eligible, but OTCQB is definitely a soon to come listing. Uplisting to TSX or delisting and listing on AIM or NASDAQ, it's not defined yet. AIM is likely to be or a dual listing. Canada and AIM is likely to happen. But AIM, the cool thing about AIM is Europe knows a lot or have more. I would say appetite for Africa.
Africa, yeah. I mean, London is the ideal market because they do a lot of emerging markets investing. It's like
yes,
the U.S. I mean, really NASDAQ. I mean, they don't really get it. I don't think. I mean, London.
I think it's way too big. But we're putting all the options on the table, and we'll see how it goes. But between you and me, I'm Canadian, and I would love to see NuRAN shine in Canada and show the people that we can bring something cool in Canada and create again a telecom company that will succeed and shine on the Canadian market. This is what I would like the most. And by the way, you can probably, it's fun. We were in a road show a couple of years back, and I met Blake Corbett at PI Financial. He's no longer there, but he said, "Okay, what's the future? What's your dream?" And I said, I would like to become the next BlackBerry when it was successful. I would like to be like those big companies that will make Canada bright again in terms of investment in telecom space. So that's my goal, I would say.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I think actually the TSX is a much better market for what you're doing than actually NASDAQ.
I think too.
I mean, Canada actually understands emerging markets. I mean, because of all the mining deals, everything else. The U.S. is really much more like they don't really look out. They don't really understand like outside of the border. It's just
okay. So I'm not going on NASDAQ then. So,
I don't think that. I actually don't think NASDAQ. London is good. TSX is obviously is good, but. For sure, London AIM, LSE AIM is good. Okay, let's see if we can get to a few more questions. Okay, so Calvin, okay. Could you comment on how the financing with the development, I guess these development banks, institutions is progressing? I think, did you answer that already? Is that?
I did, but okay. let me just summarize what's going on. We had those term sheets. They call it mandate letter. For them, it's a done deal. You can only lose it if you lied, if your business case doesn't have any supportive documentation or operation. And I think up to now we have ticked all boxes. It's just a lengthy process. our objective, I don't know when we will be able to announce, but since the beginning with them, our objective is to have the money draw down sometimes in June or July. So this is what we're aiming for with those groups. They visited Cameroon, they visited DRC. We've gone through all the processes in terms of environmental impact, social impact. So we're ticking all boxes. We are reporting on a lot of things. Gaël Campan, our COO, is extremely required to solve and bring a lot and shed some light on a couple of things related to our operation. So we're just ticking all boxes as we speak. It's just that those are big organizations, and it's tough to. It's a long process.
Okay, Curtis is asking, can we have a timeline for when the DRC towers build out resumes?
As I said, the one convoy has already gone, has already left the warehouse with 35 tower. Take 3 weeks to go to where we're going to install those towers. So maybe mid-May we might resume the installation.
It's a 3-week journey.
Yeah, you need to.
It goes on a river. It's a river.
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. There's no highway.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
You can't fly those equipment either.
Okay.
So it's because
it's
this
boat,
is a sector that was highly demanded by Orange, so that's why we're focusing there.
Okay, so literally it's a slow boat, a river boat. Like, there's an old expression, the slow boat to China. This is like a slow boat in Africa. This is actually, I mean, it's not, I mean, it's the reality.
Jack, look at our Twitter. There's a picture that says it all. You could see a pirogue with the guy with barefoot putting the tower in there, and he's crossing the river that is about the size of the St. Lawrence River here. No life jacket, no nothing. So this is how it works. So it's a harsh environment. We are I would say lucky to have the new telecom team within NuRAN to support our system integrator in the country, namely SmartCo, Natec, and LeadCom to come. So we will have three teams working hand in hand to deliver those 2,000 sites over 40 months. But it's not going side road here in Ontario or Canada. We're going in the middle of nowhere. So just imagine in the middle of nowhere and put it worst. So this is where we are installing those things. But the demand is there. There's a lot of things growing, so it's important. It's important for us to be there, but it's not a walk in the park to deploy installation in those countries.
Okay, Calvin, follow-up question. Can we expect a counter? Of course, on the NuRAN website, there's a counter which shows the tower. So about Namibia, when is
the counter, as you see there, will be every time we ignite new countries, we'll put it there, and when the first site lives are there, we will put, because the first purpose of this live site count was to demonstrate our the people connected around the world. So that was the initial purpose of this, but it was not used that way, unfortunately. But yes, we will, and but don't expect anything in Namibia until end of the year. There's a lot to do before we get there. South Sudan, it has started because this is something we announced back in December, Jack, for 250 sites. And South Sudan, we are planning to do 20 sites before the rainy season that start mid-July. And then we will start after the raining and flooding season, which ends around, I would say, November. So December, we'll have a couple more sites in South Sudan, but the goal is to deploy the 250 site within 24 months.
Okay. Will the tier one, this is the news you announced today.
Yes,
will they put out, I guess he's asking, will they put out their own press release about these contracts? So
they used to do it in the past. I think they will do it too.
So the name will be made public shortly.
Once we have the framework agreement in place, yes. And maybe we could tie it up to one of our first subsidiary contract announcement as well, because things that you have to know. We started the process a week ago. So I was sitting with the group representative to plan how we're going to manage this introduction to the different subsidiaries. So we've already started.
Mike is asking, how are things progressing in South Sudan? Have the towers cleared customs?
By the way, the towers are ordered tomorrow. Power packs have been ordered already. Civil Works Engineering Group have been selected. The radios, we have received the export license 2 weeks ago. So we are shipping the radios, the servers, and everything early next week. So we will be good to deliver in June.
Curtis is asking, okay, so how did the new agreements, I guess he's asking me about today's possible deal. How would that
impacts?
Okay.
No impacts with the current 24 million. It just they're working on something specific to Orange, Cameroon, and DRC, whereas the impact is on the equity players that we want to bring in, and we are starting a debt package wave 2 process, and but the new selection that we just announced, of course, impact this. We believe that if we want to deploy it all, it will require $200 million plus of infrastructure investment.
Okay.
And a significant piece of this will be self-financed by the cash generated by our operation, Jack.
Okay. Interesting question. Any update on, let's say, beyond analyst coverage, the ESG rating? Because I think if you got into the TSX, you would be, because I think right here, you really can't get one on this. Can you get an ESG rating on the CSE?
We could actually, because of the lack of resources and everything, we're now focusing on, yes, ESG, but everything related to the DFI's loan. Okay, because they have a lot of requirements on that sense. Once we're done with this, we have the loan approved and we can move on. Then our people will be working on ESG rating. ESG rating will be also managed by analysts and so forth. So, but it's a tough game to get there. It doesn't take 2 weeks. So you need to tick a lot of boxes, do a lot of reporting and so forth. If I look back at the question, any updates on analyst coverage? I do not control that, unfortunately. Analyst coverage come from institutional investor. Institutional investor will come into play like NuRAN, when the stock is 80 million market cap and higher. And then they will involve their market analyst. I'm not a big fan of having a paid analyst because it implies that it's not subjective. It's not objective, sorry. So I'd rather work the game and make sure that our market cap is going to the appropriate level, then bring potential institutional investor in the mix, and therefore the analyst will come into play. There are other ways to get this done. Is doing a private placement, which is not something that I would like to do, like a big equity raise. A big equity raise. This is not in the mix, or when you do an acquisition that crank up the valuation of the company, like in a click.
I don't think, yeah, the analyst, I mean, realistically, the analyst, I don't think you need the analyst coverage. The ESG rating, though, if you had that could increase the value of the stock by, probably 4x, because there's really a very small amount of like legitimate ESG stocks out there. And what NuRAN is doing is actually, I mean, like, I don't think you can have a bigger social impact than, I mean, there's really nothing out there that, I mean, basically you're changing people's lives like in a massive way, because now all of a sudden they have jobs, healthcare, communication, everything. I mean, without I mean, banking, I mean, I mean, the phone there, it does everything. It's a crazy thing.
I hear what you say, but there's a lot of reporting to get this rating also,
Yeah.
Jack. So it's not, as I said, a walk in the park, but that's definitely something that we want to do, especially that we're working with DFIs and government organization to finance those infrastructure. They will require us to have this ESG rating at some point. Right now, we're barely getting there because we have a lot of reporting to do with for the DFIs at this stage. So there will be a lot of reuse of that work that will be done in the next couple of days,
Okay.
couple of months.
I think we'll do the last question here. Curtis asking, how long could the general framework take with this today's announcement, with this massive deal? How long does the actual, I guess how long does the
Yeah. How long
actual,
could that take? I'm expecting 4 to 6 weeks. Could be shorter, but with Africa, by the way, I've always been extremely optimistic of the timelines. I've burned my finger, I can tell you. There's an acronym called TIA. This is Africa. So don't expect things to happen when people say it will happen. So just give yourself a bit of buffer. My apologies to our retail investor, because yes, I've been really optimistic over the last. I'm still on the overall business, but in terms of timelines, we need to put a bit of
here's,
buffer.
I mean,
4 to 6 weeks is good.
Francis, I think just to put things into perspective, and people have to understand. Again, you're basically in rural areas. You just gave an example. To get your equipment to the site, they have to go down a river, float down a river for 3 weeks. I mean, so this is so. There's no like the timelines. That's why the opportunity is here, because it's
Exactly.
very things are a little unpredictable. So that's what makes this exciting. You got to
Plus,
get what's the guy, the famous investor, Jim Rogers. Jim Rogers. You know Jim Rogers?
no.
He's a big investor in emerging. He was a big African investor in the probably for the last 30 years, like before they even had like big. I think he lives in Singapore now, but maybe he might discover the stock. This is like right up his alley. Emerging markets early on. So okay, so let's wrap up here. Okay, friends. Okay, I guess. Oh, wait. One interesting question. Middle East expansion. Middle East.
Yes. Okay. So yes, in the Middle East, there's a demand too. The tricky thing is exportation. We have done a couple of tries in the past, or to get export license for Iran, for example, or Afghanistan, Syria, Yemen, and I don't know, Iraq, Dubai. So it's complicated place to go, but the demand is really big. Not to say other words. The demand is really big. In Iran, there's 4,000 sites to be built there. Tricky thing is exporting and taking the money out of the country. Really complicated, and fluctuation of the currency. So those things need to be evaluated, but the demand is there. The demand is there. There's a lot to do in Middle East as well.
Okay. Francis, on that note, I want to thank you, and thank you everybody for the great questions. I think we had some fantastic questions today, and we'll see you all on the next live stream, hopefully with the next major new developments. I mean, there's basically the timeline is actually last question. I'm going to ask you one last question, Francis.
Yeah.
This is the big one. Okay, so right now, what kind of news flow can people expect for the next, let's call it, over the next 8 weeks, the next 6 to 8 weeks? We're already in May.
I think first of all, just to follow on news to the one that we've announced this morning is likely to happen. Following that, you will probably see announcement for every single contract we signed with the different subsidiaries in country. We are shooting for 13. That's our objective, to reach 9,000 sites. Will we get them all? I don't know. I don't think so. But let's say that we get 6 or 7. So that's our expectation. So that's 6 or 7 news just there. Will it happen in the next 6 to 8 weeks? I don't know, maybe 10, 12, something like that. Announcement on the DFI's acceptance, final acceptance. Announcement of the equity raise at the NuRAN African holding structure. And of course, some reporting on the site life. that we will do more regularly, other than just having our website with counts of number of people connected, but reporting on KPIs, because you have to know that just Cameroon, we're reporting 98% uptime. So, which is almost 8% on top of the imposed KPIs from the operator in terms of grade of service, which is good. So we will be reporting regularly. So I think 2022, not to just talk about the next 8 weeks, but 2022 will be populated with a lot of news. I've taken a package with AccessWire for unlimited press release this year, because I think it's an inflection year, as you said, inflection point. So this news this morning is an open ticket to deploy thousands of sites on top of what we have done already.
Okay. Francis, okay, on that note, thank you, and we'll catch up with you on the next live stream.
Thank you, Jack. Have
Thank
a good
you
day.
again.